What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in to 1TS Daily live here on One True Sport. I'm your host, Zack Heydorn. Super pumped to be here. We got a lot to get to today. Thanks to everybody who's joining us live on YouTube. Hello, hello, hello. Thanks to everybody who's watching us live on Twitter. Hello to you as well. If you are a One True Sport member and you're listening to us after the fact here as an audio podcast, hello to you as well. Thanks so much for being here. We are live here on the One True Sport YouTube channel every single Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday with this here show, 1TS Daily, and we talk the news of the day. The news of the day, the news of the week, previewing shows, reviewing shows, obviously staying very busy here in the next couple weeks because I didn't realize this until last night. We were doing our show on Brass Ring Media, which is my other shop to talk wrestling, and we got 3 weekends in a row with pay-per-view events. We got All In coming up this weekend. Next weekend it's Bash in Berlin and NXT No Mercy, and then the week after that it's All Out. So busy time, and lots to discuss, lots to get to, and likely a AEW TV deal announcement somewhere in the madness of all of that. So where's the best place to go to discuss it all? Right here. You found it. You are here now. So thank you in advance for that. Today on the show, we're going to talk tonight's episode of AEW Dynamite. We are going to take a look at what AEW needs to do for their final hype for All In coming up this weekend. We'll talk NXT as well from yesterday with some of the newsworthy happenings there. Of course, we're here to answer your questions, take your comments, and before we know it, our 30-minute window here will be over. But once again, thanks so much for being here. The live chat is open if you want to get some comments in. We got some people filing in already. Super chats are also available now, so you can get those in as well. If you're able to make a contribution to the show, it certainly helps us out greatly. It helps out the show, helps out me, helps out One True Sport, and just helps us grow and continue doing our thing here in the pro wrestling analysis space. Make sure you're heading to onetruesport.com and checking out all of our membership options. We've got 3 of them, 3 different tiers. All of them include this show as an audio podcast every single day, but also all of them have access to some of the biggest stars pro wrestling has ever seen. Kurt Angle, Rob Van Dam, Medusa, Arn Anderson. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Check it out. Consider becoming a member. I think you'll really enjoy it. You'll like what we do. You'll get more from me. You get more of the show. Yeah, you definitely need to check it out. There's 3 different price points, so you don't need to break the bank to do it. And I think you'll be really happy that you did. As you watch the video today, if you can hit like, that'd be much appreciated. It helps us, guys. You know, there's no way around it. It just does. It just does. And we need all the help we can get. So yeah, hit like, obviously subscribe so you don't miss any content here, free on the YouTube channel. And I thank you in advance for that. All right, let's start with last night's episode of NXT. And the big news of that show, Joe Hendry is the #1 contender for the NXT Championship. What a ride that guy's been on. At NXT No Mercy, it'll be Joe Hendry versus Ethan Page for the NXT Championship. What do you guys think about this? Joe Hendry, not like in the truest definition, a contracted NXT wrestler, right? He is a TNA star that he had notoriety even before he showed up in NXT. But he's grown that notoriety since being on NXT. And now you have a TNA kind of top staple act wrestling for the world title on an NXT PLE. Pretty wild times. But I'm not. I mean, I'm not. I'm not going to sit here and say that I believe in Joe Hendry. I think that Joe Hendry is kind of like a fad in pro wrestling, a lot like Rusev Day. Back when he was doing that kind of thing. It just seems to me that I just don't know what kind of ceiling he has right now. I think he's hot now. I think he's got a cool little gimmick now. Long term, though, I don't know how that plays. I don't know how that plays. Now, that said, even though I don't think that there's like crazy long term potential in the guy, I do think that it is smart for NXT, for TNA, for anybody booking him to go with him right now. I mean, that makes sense. Like, you have a hot act. You might not understand it. He may not be an act that lasts long, but right now, in August of 2024, he's a player. And so you go with him. That's what good bookers do. Good bookers listen and react and try to push guys that the audience is behind. And that's what NXT is doing here, if you ask me. Like, that is a smart play for them. Go with this. I don't think Joe Hendry's going to win the NXT championship. That's not something that I see, in the cards for him, mainly because he's not a signed guy, like like I said, in the true sense to NXT. There's inherent issues there, but I do think it's worthwhile to put him in a main event against Ethan Page. I do think it's worthwhile to do this on pay-per-view. I think it's worthwhile to, continue to kind of feed his momentum. You never know when he is up for contract renewal. Maybe you do want to sign him officially. So, like, there's lots of reasons to do this, but the biggest one is the audience is behind him. And strike while the iron is hot. I think the crowd at NXT No Mercy is going to be firmly behind Joe Hendry. It's going to be a fun thing to watch come Sunday or Labor Day weekend. And so this was the right move. I like how they got there. He won a match. Now we got to see if he can deliver, like, in this moment. We got to see if he can step up to the plate and actually, be a top star and not be, a star that's like shooting for that spot. Like, can he hold his own on promos? Can he hold his own in the ring in a main event style match? Can he tell a story with Ethan Page? Can he, get heat on Page? There's a lot of things that we need to see him do. And I think, this is where to do that. This is the time to do that. And I'm really curious as to how he does. But I think this is a smart match for No Mercy, given the fact that you just don't know when the Joe Hendry flame is going to burn out. Before it does, take full advantage. And I think this is WWE and NXT doing that. What do you guys think? Andrew's in the chat here, and he says, Zach, that's me, does not believe in Joe Hendry. Shame, shame, shame. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm in that boat. But again, I don't believe in him as a long-term top guy act. No. I think that there's a little bit of, like I said, flash in the pan to him. And to, like, just his trajectory and momentum right now. But, excuse me, I get some coffee in me. But that doesn't mean you don't go with him. It doesn't mean you don't go with him. It doesn't mean you don't put him in main events. It doesn't mean you don't push him. You do all of those things because that's what you do. That's how you book. That's how, you try to build stars. And who knows? Maybe, 6 months from now, we'll be talking about Joe Hendry in a completely different way. And Hendry will be, a guy that is primed for Raw or SmackDown at some point. I can't rule that out. I wouldn't put my money on that, but you can't rule it out either. at this point. The bottom line is they're going with a hot act, and that's what you do. And I think that's totally okay. Andrew says they do it because they believe in Joe Hendry. They like the people are watching him. That's for sure. They like that he's bringing in some outside wrestling attention. That's for sure. And we'll see. And then he goes. Andrew says here, additionally, it's good business to cooperate with the lesser companies that pose no real threat to you. Absolutely. I mean, the partnership with NXT and TNA, I mean, that makes all the sense in the world, especially with how they're doing it, right now. I mean, you got Hendry in this spot. You have, what's with me today, guys? You have like the Rascals stuff that's going on. You couldn't do that storyline if you didn't have, the potential availability for some of those guys to cross over and interact with Wes Lee. You still have Jordan Grace out there. And then there's TNA talent that hasn't even crossed over yet. That's very intriguing. Josh Alexander, somebody that could cross over. Nick Nemeth is somebody that could cross over. Obviously, he's got very, very strong ties to WWE. Somebody like Mike Bailey. I have an interview dropping with Mike Bailey on Brass Ring Media here in about 2 hours. So you can check that out. But he talks about the partnership with WWE. And he's very, very, complimentary of it as a strategy. And he speaks in detail about that. He also talks in very strong detail about his match with Mustafa Ali. It's a great listen. So head over to Brass Ring Media a little bit later. Subscribe to my channel there, and you can catch that interview. But yeah, Andrew, it definitely is good to do that, and they're taking full advantage, without question. So that was NXT last night. Pretty good show. I think it's a quieter time for the brand. Even though they do have a pay-per-view, there's 5 matches announced for the show. We'll preview that show in full next week, right here on 1TS Daily, probably Friday next week, I would imagine, Thursday or Friday next week. But we'll also have to preview Bash in Berlin, so we'll have to do that as well. Like I said, busy week. All right, tonight, AEW Dynamite, the go home. We've got Kazuchika Okada versus Claudio Castagnoli for the AEW Continental Championship. MJF and Will Ospreay will square off and meet face-to-face. Hook versus Big Bill is a match that's going to take place. And they're also teasing a final encounter between Swerve Strickland and Bryan Danielson ahead of their AEW World Championship main event match at All In coming up this weekend. This is going to air on tape delay. So it's going to be taped earlier in the afternoon. They're in Cardiff, Wales. If you want spoilers for some reason, you'll be able to get them here in a few hours. But this is a pretty interesting go home card. And a lot that I'm actually going to check Twitter right now to see if they've announced anything else, because it just seems to me that that's not a whole lot announced for ahead of your big pay-per-view. Let's see here. Okay, we're gonna get Timeless Tony Storm against Saraya, AEW Women's World Championship match, I guess tonight. They just announced that an hour ago. So there you go. If Saraya wins, she punches her ticket to All In. Is she actually going to win? Of course not. This is ridiculous. Why even bother making that a world championship match? I don't know. That's just silly. Okay, but that's the new thing that they've added in. Complete ridiculousness there. But hey, I guess you do have to fill. I guess you do have to fill. 2 hours of TV time tonight. But the main hooks here are promo segments for the biggest matches on the show at All In. MJF versus Will Ospreay, face to face. This, I think they need to hit a home run with this. They need to hit a home run, and I think I I hope anyway they could just lean away from like the America versus UK thing. Like it's just like such a manufactured rivalry, and like I don't know. It's too cute. It's too cute. You didn't need that angle on this. Not with Ospreay and MJF. I think the goal tonight, sure, fine. If you want to put that out there and you want to make sure people remember that, all right, great. But the essence here should be Will Ospreay challenging MJF and wanting to beat him after what he did in their nearly hour-long match. Like, he cheated to win. I mean, that's the hook, I think. And people certainly are excited to see the second match. No question about it. But, I mean, goodness gracious. Like, there has to be just, I think, more of an intense rivalry here and less, just crazy, MJF American stuff. I don't think that feud needs it. So I hope that they tone that down, and then I hope they just reinforce what the match really is about, and that's Ospreay claiming that title back after and winning after what happened in their first match together. That's the story, and I hope they stick to that and leave some of the rah USA stuff at the door. As for Swerve Strickland and Bryan Danielson, well, let me ask you first. What do you guys think? What do you guys think of the build to Danielson versus or not Danielson, Will Ospreay versus MJF at this point? I mean, do you guys like the angle? Do you like the US versus UK thing? Am I alone on an island with this? I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear what you have to say about that, because I think that it makes what can or should be like a layered feud, it just makes it one note. Makes it just totally one note. Let's go to the chat here. And says Andrew's talking about Tony Storm versus Saraya, saying because it's slightly better than their eliminator stipulation. I guess because it's actually for a world championship, but I mean, there's going to be no investment in this match because you're not going to do Saraya versus Mariah May at this point. Like it just makes it really silly. But you're right. I mean, it is slightly better. So, good point, Andrew. Also, I think it's Yair. I want to make sure I pronounce that right. If I didn't, I apologize. But Yair says, don't you think the Swerve versus Danielson match is a lose-lose situation? Man, I do. I am not a fan of what they're doing with this. I just think you are featuring all the wrong parts of Bryan Danielson in what should be framed as the biggest match of his career. And instead, you got a guy out there that's doubting himself. You got a guy out there who's trying to soak it all in. You're going out there and you're seeing a guy who, is showing too much real life in this, and it's not helping the match. Yesterday, in an interview on Fightful, Bryan Danielson talked about how his daughter doesn't want him to win this because she really wants him home. It's like, well, how do you cheer for the guy after that? Like, it's just the psychology is all off. Like, they need to be building this match as a triumphant, crowning achievement moment for Bryan Danielson. That's the build here. And instead, you have this just like lukewarm. I am gonna wrestle, but it's probably gonna be one of my last matches, and my family wants me home, and I have to have neck surgery at some point this year. It's like no, you, based on what we saw last week with Swerve Strickland, like essentially like leaning heel, like they're trying to get people to believe that Bryan Danielson can and should win the world title for the first time. That's the story they're telling here. Can Danielson do it? So What's the result of that story? You want people hoping that that happens. And by saying and talking openly about a guy needing to have neck surgery, by talking openly about a guy that, really just should be home with his family, like winning the world title runs counter to both of those things. So that's why you don't put it out there. Or if you do put it out there, you just tell a completely different story on television. And instead, they've tried to like tell this real story for Bryan Danielson, and I think it's hurt the overall anticipation for this match, because to Yair's point, it's like it's a lose-lose. If Swerve loses, okay, that's he loses. That we don't get that moment. If he wins, he loses because he's then has to be champion and he can't retire and he can't fulfill his promise to his daughter. So he loses in that scenario too. So like that's not how you want to set up your matches. Not your big matches on the biggest shows of the year. No way. You don't want that. And so with their final encounter tonight, they have a steep uphill climb to, really get fans invested in whatever way they can. If that means continuing to leverage like real life stuff, okay, go ahead and do that. Make it make sense. If that means telling a completely different story and not being real, and like, Danielson goes, hey, I want to win the world title and then I'm going to defend it until I lose it. Like, okay, if that's best for the story, do it. That's important. What's best for the story? Whatever that is, whatever you deem that is, do that. That is the play. And we've just seen too much like transparency for him. There's a time and a place for that. There's a time and a place for that in wrestling. And it's not 10 days before the biggest match in company history at one of the biggest shows of the year and from your top guy in a world title match. That's not it. And so they need to hit a home run tonight with whatever kind of final, go home hype they have planned. It's got to be good. And I think it's got to be rooted in Bryan Danielson wanting to win the world title, wanting to prove he's the best. That's key. Clive says here he could be a part-time champion or relinquish the title. Sure. Yeah, he could. Either of those things work. But then that's the message. Then that should be what the message is at this point. It's I'm going to win the title and then I'm going to relinquish it. I'm going to retire, either way, but I'm going to go out on top. Okay, that works. The other part-time champion thing, you can call that out too. Like, I'm going to defend the title when I'm called upon, but I'm also going to be at home with the family. Like, you can tell all these stories. You can tell it all, but you got to do it. You got to put in the effort and the elbow grease to make that happen. Yair says here, by the way, I agree with that 100%. He says, yes, you said it right, brother. Have a good day. Thank you, Yair. Appreciate it. I said it right. Yes. Good. So that's Dynamite tonight. We do have an Okada versus Claudio Castagnoli match. That should be, kind of a signature match for AEW. They do big Dynamite matches on television. This certainly, I think, falls in that category. It's an Okada match on TV against Claudio. Should be a really good match. Excited to watch that tonight. But that's Dynamite. We will preview All In on Friday, on this show Friday. So make plans to be here 11 Eastern for your full AEW All In preview show. We'll do it it will probably take up, unless there's other really huge news, it will probably take up the majority, if not all, of the show on Friday. So don't miss it. 11 Eastern Friday for your AEW All In preview right here on 1TS Daily. Cool? All right, you guys. Thanks so much. Appreciate you guys being here. It's been a blast as always. Make sure you guys hit subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit like on the video so that the algorithm pushes us out to more people and we continue to grow and grow and grow. Make sure you also head over to Brass Ring Media and check out our work there. We've got a free Substack newsletter that you can subscribe to right now. And we have a YouTube channel that you can subscribe to right now. All of our main content lives for free in both of those areas. So if you subscribe for free to both, you get a really nice kind of weekly, daily batch of top shelf pro wrestling analysis from me and from members of the team. I think you'll really like it, and it's totally free. So head over, subscribe on Substack. We got different features and columns and interviews, all that pop up on there throughout the week, show reviews as well. And then on our YouTube channel, we're live Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday with special shows with different hosts, different perspectives. Check it out. All you got to do is subscribe. It's Brass Ring Media. Cool. Thank you guys so much. Fun show as always. We'll be back tomorrow. Same time, same place, 11 Eastern, right here on 1TS Daily. See you guys later. Have a great day.